Hi everyone, Steve Westman from the Audiophiles. Welcome to another roundtable. This is a fun one. I always say that, I know, but I've got Mazzy, I've got Nathan, my wingman, on today. We're talking Record Store Day. This is the April Record Store Day drop. Some of our best sounding albums this year that we own, some albums that we want to buy, what's going on in MOFI land, audiophile land, that type of thing. You know it. It's going to be a fun one. And if you're in Vancouver, I'm here at the Hi-Fi Center. You can have a look. Great gear here, guys. Come down, 433 Carroll, right in downtown Vancouver. Check out the Hi-Fi Center. Now let's get to it. Our Audiophile Roundtable discussion. We'll see you on the other side of the Audiophile. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of the Audiophile Vinyl Roundtable discussion. I've got my wingman, Nathan Goss, and of course, I have Norman Mazzy Maslov. How are you today, sir?
I'm well. Nathan, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you, guys.
Nice to see you.
We got lots to talk about. It's been a while since our last, discussion about vinyl and sort of the market. I've been on a little bit of a break, getting over an illness, and so I'm sort of back at it now. Also got a chance last week to have lunch with Kirsten Edkins and her husband Dan. I had a lovely afternoon with them. So really nice to meet the people that you talk to and talk about and have their albums. So it's kind of cool. So today, I know some of the topics we're going to talk about, what's going on with MoFi, what's going on in the market, what's going on with Analogue Productions. And we'll also talk about some of our favorite albums this year in 2023, as we're sneaking into May already, which is kind of crazy. So Nathan, I wanted to start with you. I mean, let's talk about the first quarter of the year in terms of audiophile vinyl. Like, where are you at as a collector? Are you buying much? Do you have favorites? Like, what's going on with you these days?
Yeah, I think the best way to describe it so far is very highly selective. So I'm being very intentional about what I'm picking up. Maybe doing more research than previously, and not just trying to get it before it sells out or goes out of print. And I think that, is something, worth discussing a little bit, because, right now, I think the way that the market is in general, you can pretty much easily get a title that you want, which was not the case a year, 2, 3 years ago, where, the first 5,000 copies, or sometimes even more than that, you had to be pretty much putting in your credit card information and hitting go the moment that you heard about the announcement in order to secure a copy. But to me, I think it's a good thing. I like the fact that stuff is available now. You don't have to just rush to get something and then hope that it's fantastic. You can actually wait for it to drop, let some other people review it first, or, go out and actually physically get it at a store. So I think it's actually better, because I think music is ending up right now in the hands of the people that actually care about it and enjoy it, not just people that are trying to make a quick buck by flipping it.
And I'm not seeing the flipping as much now. I mean, as you guys know, I founded the MoFi Audiophile Buy and Sell Club on Facebook years ago, and I'm not seeing the flipping we once did. So everything's more available now. Some older titles are available. The prices aren't that bad any longer. Right. And I know, just before we got on, I mean, I don't feel that I think we're almost in this pre-COVID, pre-pandemic sort of feel in terms of vinyl sales and demand and everything. Like, I'm not going out there buying everything either. I don't feel I need to. I don't have that FOMO feel now, because there's more supply than ever before. And I feel like that going forward is going to be more. So there's going to be more opportunities to buy what you want to buy, save money, not buy as much because everyone else is doing it. And I think that's going to help probably relationships and marriages as well, right? Not spending as much money on records. I see those memes all the time on Facebook about, husbands and wives, fighting over these, records, and why are you on Discogs again, type of thing. It's kind of funny, but I mean, we've all gone through that. And Mazzy, what do you think? Do you think we're like pre-pandemic sort of feel now with the whole thing?
I think they're catching up with the pressing plans, that issue.
Yeah.
a few issues and everything. And of course, during Record Store Day now, which is happening, depending on when people watch this tomorrow, which I might bring that up a little bit.
Well, let's bring it up. Well, they can watch it tonight. I think we'll post this tonight, Friday.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah,
but I mean, what I want to kind of mention this because talk about lag time. There was two records that I pre-ordered a year and a half ago when it was in I think the 2021 Christmas mobile or Music Direct catalog. And it was MoFi's copies of these records. I'm a huge Warren Zevon fan. First generation. These records sound fantastic. Well, I want to talk about that briefly.
We're going to talk about this because this is very interesting. We'll talk about this.
Because this may come up because I want to condense. I literally this morning dropped a 20-minute video on this because I got this. Now, the bottom line is this is friggin' fantastic. This is amazing. As good as the original is great. So if you have it and you don't want to go 45 RPM, you don't want to go. It's amazing sounding original record, fairly reasonably priced still. This lifts it up. This reminded me, the phrase I kept using is three-dimensional. It sounded like almost in certain percussive areas, a surround thing. Now, about 2 months ago, maybe what you're going to talk about, MoFi announced that they're not doing this because there's issues with the tape, right?
And so let me start right there. So the one that I have, this is a Rhino reissue 2009. There it is, cut and mastered by Kevin Gray. You can still pick this up for $25 or so.
That's what I talk about. I bought this in 2010. When I got it, and it's that cliche, and I mentioned it sounds like there's a blanket over it compared to the original. And I wrote, remember when you used to write to Dr. Rhino? I wrote to Dr. Rhino and got a thing. Oh, there must be something. We'll send you a new copy. Same thing. I put it on my shelf and never played it again because after the original, I played it. Now, this past week when I got the MoFi of the second album, Excitable Boy, I pulled this out again and played my original. And I thought maybe it was just my old cartridge, and I played it again. It's compared to the original, it's muffled again. And then I started thinking, wait a second, just a few months ago, Mobile Fidelity said they're not doing it. There's a tape issue. I'm convinced. Now, I'd love to ask Kevin that if you talk to Kevin again.
Yeah, I will.
Because it just came out again in 2019. And I think it's the same thing.
Let me stop right there. It's the same metal. Exactly.
Yeah, okay. I hate this. I know I buy an original if you I don't know, maybe you like it more than I do. Maybe because I know the record.
You know the record more than I do. I don't have the original, plus I don't have the MoFi Excitable Boy either to really compare it. But I don't mind the sound of this one. But I mean, again, you would know more about
brightness,
it than I would.
I mean, I know people don't like bright records. It's not a bright record, but the drums snap, the bass is tight. There's a huddled masses, something going on this Kevin Gray cut. And even in my video, I said, look, I think Kevin got what he could work with. I don't blame Kevin, but especially now it adds it up hearing that MoFi, and to MoFi's credit, with all this stuff about DSD and everything, they must have realized, we can't do anything with this. I mean, even with DSD, you have to start out with good tapes. So, you can't fix it. So I don't know what the problem was.
Yeah.
They had it planned. I pre-ordered it. It was on the catalog, and like literally 2 months ago, they said they're not doing it.
I mean, this album, for anyone who doesn't know, this is Warren's second album that he released.
His first Asylum record. He did
first Asylum record. And here's the thing: Lindsey Buckingham, Glenn Frey, Don Henley, Bonnie Raitt. Who else is on it?
Jackson Brown.
Jackson Brown, who produced it. Yeah.
Linda Ronstadt, part of the Beach Boys, the Eagle. I mean, it's a dark
Don Henley. This album is music wise, guys. I mean, maybe Mazzy's right. Get the original. Music wise, this is an incredible pressing.
It's a great album. It's hysterical. It's the dark underbelly of 1970. It's like a noir album of cowboy stuff. It's great.
Hey, Mazzy, can you show us on camera the reverse side of Excitable Boy, the MoFi, where now at the bottom they have the details showing the process? Because I think this is the first MoFi release where they're now putting that information at the bottom of the record. If you guys can see that on the bottom of the LP.
Yeah, I'll read it. It basically it says 1/4" 15 IPS. Dolby analog master to DSD 256 to analog console to lathe. In my video, and I don't usually come here to promote my videos, but watch the video. It's only 20 minutes. Go to my channel, Norman Maslov, and I do a 20-minute thing about this, compare and a little history of Warren, because I'm all in there. I mean, he's like the noir, right? He's like the Norman Mailer of rock and roll, the way he rocked. No, but he even admits that. I mean, and what's great about these two records, Jackson Browne and then Waddy Wachtel co-produced the second one. He had all these great songs, and to Jackson Browne's credit, he said, let's hold some of these off like Werewolves of London and things till later, instead of front loading that first record and everything else, your second record, sophomore slump type of thing. And in a way, I always find it sad that a lot of people say, who's Warren Zevon? I don't know his music until you mention Werewolves. And then they go, oh yeah. And that's, to me, not one of his greatest songs, and it's a big novelty song. So there's so much more depth in his music, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, I mean, getting back, $25 from the Masters, Kevin Gray Master, 2009, 2019, same metal. So a Rhino release. Yeah. So I like the album. I like the music. I don't know, probably, what do you think? Better than Excitable Boys from a music perspective?
I like it better. Another thing I mentioned in my video, he studied classical music. He toured as the piano player and the band leader of the Everly Brothers.
And one of the Everly Brothers is on that album too.
Bill Everly's on it. And he's learned classical, all the classical strings he wrote and he conducts. He's very influenced by Copland, Aaron Copland. So it's Copland-esque, majestic strings on that opening track, Jesse James. It just sounds like a Copland, like Appalachian Spring or Rodeo or whatever. Just fantastic. Fantastic.
So, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, original albums normally sound pretty good. And I'm going to show you one example of an absolutely my worst sounding original album of all time from my collection. Okay.
Is it the
horrible?
Horrible. Is it the Brown label A&M?
Yeah, it's original.
Those usually sound pretty good, but
this one, every track syllabants on Cocker's voice, awful, muddy. Bleh. I can't. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. Maybe it's got a bad copy. This is
Denny Cordell
horrible
record, I think.
It is. Denny.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Look at his face. That's how much he hates the sound.
And I'm not a big Beatles cover fan of music, but I love his with a little help from my friends, and it just sounds so brutal on this album. It's a disappointment. I'd rather stream it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, if anyone doesn't,
that's a cover. That's a cover shot. We want this one in the cover, right?
But anyone wants this. I mean, Jimmy Page is on a lot of these songs as well. If anyone didn't know, Dave Mason wrote the first opening track, "Feeling All Right." What else do we have here? It's a great album. Yeah, Jimmy Page's guitar is great on this. I'm just so pissed that it sounds so brutal. So I have to go find a newer release of this, or maybe like MoFi or AP will redo this one, because I think this is this would get a good sales out there. I think people would really buy this one.
If you like that music and you love Leon, that whole band, you should get the double album, Mad Dogs and Englishmen.
I have it. Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about, I know we wanted to talk about Elvis, the new MOFI Elvis that's, I guess, just released the one step.
I'll listen to you guys talk about it.
Come on, Elvis in Memphis. Let's talk about it.
Sure.
Anyone? Go for it.
Well, I don't have my copy yet, so I can't really speak to much in that regard, but I know that there's been a little bit of, I don't know, I guess you could say controversy on the track listing. Is that where you're going with it?
So this is my 1980 pressing, Mobile Fidelity pressing. I got this. I just actually did last year I bought this. It was $50. And this is a half-speed Stan Ricker cut from the original master tapes. And yeah, there's an issue with the track listing on the, well, not really an issue. As you can see here, the last track is In the Ghetto, side 2. So on the MoFi one step, it's 45 now. The last track after In the Ghetto is Suspicious Minds, which was actually recorded during the same session from Elvis in Memphis recording session.
So they added an extra track then,
which I think is great. I mean, it's one of his best songs. Why is that a
controversy? It's kind of like the CD era, like adding bonus tracks at the end.
I think it's cool.
Well, yeah, and quite honestly, now that the cat's out of the DSD bag, I mean, they can cut whatever the heck they want from any digital source, even if it's coming from the analog tapes.
That's true.
So there's more
You think
give
they
there.
should have put it before and kept the same last final track, or what?
Well, the original doesn't have that track, right? That's something
Right.
that MoFi has done. It's just an add-on. It's a MoFi add-on. It's a one-off.
You're getting it for free anyway.
Yeah.
What are you complaining about?
No, I don't think it's I think it's kind of interesting. That's not MoFi, I don't think has ever done that before. This is the first what we're seeing, an additional track, and especially Suspicious Minds, if you're an Elvis fan, is one of the big commercial hit, a radio hit. It's still played today, and everyone knows that song. So it's kind of cool that it was.
And those of us of a certain age will remember 8-track tapes in our car when they would move tracks around to fit the quarters,
Yeah, my dad had one in his car, that's for sure. So I mean, getting back to it, I mean, MoFi releasing the Elvis. Nathan, you said you have that on order. I had a problem. I had ordered a bunch of stuff from MoFi, and they go through DHL, the courier service. And I found out, I phoned DHL today because they gave me the tracking number. And this is back in April 1st is when I made one order for, I think it was one of the Miles Davis albums. And they made the shipping label, but they haven't sent the records to DHL. So so I then emailed Mobile Fidelity to let them know what DHL said. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. So that's over a month and a half now.
Yeah. But I mean, you're right. The last 5 or 6 one-steps you can easily just go out and pay retail for right now. There's none of them are going out of print like they once were. Same with the UHQRs, with the exception of the limited run of the Marleys there. But you can still get the Steely Dans, the first 2 very easily. Which I do think is the reasoning why Chad probably switched the script a little bit on the release dates. I'm guessing.
So tell the viewers about the release dates of the next UHQR Steely Dans that are forthcoming.
Well, the original plan was to release one every 60 to 90-ish
90 days. That's right.
Yeah. So, and they were supposed to go in order of their original release, so chronologically from their original release. And then we just found out, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, that Asia got slated for end of September of this year. Mm-hmm. Pretzel Logic is in July now. Gaucho is now December. Katie Lied is next March, and then Royal Scam is June of 2024. So the sequence of those got kind of shifted around, and there was dates actually attached to it now. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because now everyone gets their hopes up if if they end up. I
wonder why they were changed and not done in chronological order. Do you think there's any rational reason for that? Yes. Or is it more? What is the reason?
I think the biggest one is that the 2 biggest money makers out of those will be Asia and Gaucho.
And Christmas time, holiday time, and ramping up.
Yeah. So I think the idea is to get the most money, because they're not selling, I think, as they anticipated. I think that, for a number of reasons. I think there's too many copies of all of them. I think those should have probably been done in runs of maybe 7,510 instead of like 20,000 or whatever.
And that's what I was getting back to, this sort of pre-pandemic feel. I mean, we know there's a lot of supply now where there wasn't the supply before. There's only, we had that one lacquer company that burnt to the ground, and so there's only one company producing the lacquer. So we had all that, plus everyone stayed at home buying more records, blah blah blah. We know the story now. I think I think the number of, I think that's fine. I think maybe they planned on extending these sales out for the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, it's not like they're printing all 20,000 at a time, probably, I would assume, right? I don't think they would be, other than maybe Asia. Is Asia? I keep getting the number wrong, and I know when Chad will probably watch this and then text me and say you got the number wrong. But Asia, is it 35 or 40,000? What's the print? What's the print on that one? Does anyone remember?
I thought about 25 to 30, but I don't know.
Maybe
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's like a $150 record, but it's the one everyone goes to when they think.
Yeah, I mean, And I have all the audiophile Asias you can possibly have, so I'll add this one to my collection. I know we've talked about it before. I'll listen.
It's the only one I ordered. It's the only
same
Steely Dan one I ordered.
same with me. And I know Gaucho is Nathan's favorite, and it's a good album. So I know you have that'll be a nice Christmas gift for you if it comes in December, Nathan. So you'll be listening to that instead of Jingle Bells.
And here's the other thing. I don't know that those Marley releases, I don't know how much like prep time there were on those, because the date that's on the packaging is September of 2022. So those kind of dropped in, and I don't know that those were anticipated to drop in. Like, I think the idea was to run the Steely Dans out, and then there's an opportunity to do the Marleys, which they took advantage of, because why wouldn't you? And then those kind of, I think, caused everything to get pushed back. If you watch like the production of getting those things to into people's hands, I mean, it's a heck of a process. Here's the other thing I wanted to mention. We are now at, I think the number's like 27 one steps from Mobile Fidelity. The first one was released in 2016. So that's 7 years, divide that many titles. They're averaging between 3 and 4 releases a year of one steps, right? Impex has done like 2 over like 3 years. Kraft has done like their small batch. They've done like 4 or 5 over the last 3 years. So for them to do 7 UHQRs or 8 UHQRs in a given calendar year, I mean, that's some, like, just to think about the workload that's involved in the printing of those boxes and the packaging. And then of course, just the high quality standard that they're adhering to on the vinyl. And then to press 2 discs, the 2 LPs in those instances. I know the one Marley was a 33, but the other ones are all 45 RPM cuts, right? So, I mean, it's a major undertaking. I think it's pretty aggressive to get that many off the shelf in a single year. So it was pretty ambitious to be like, hey, we're releasing all 7 over the next, 12 to 14 months. I mean, I think we can give them a little bit of slack, because I think it's, a major undertaking. And I don't think they cut any corners. I think they want to release these as fantastic as possible. And if it means we got to wait an extra little bit of time for them to be awesome, I'm willing to, wait too.
Yeah. So I guess September for Asia, that'll be fun to do some reviews of that one. Now I really got to go back to the drawing board with all the Asias that I have. So, oh my God, maybe I'll get
maybe YouTube vinyl person's going to be showing that record. Which is
maybe
good.
I'll,
why not,
maybe I'll get my kids to review it. I mean, I've heard it so many times already. I don't need to probably listen to it again. So I don't know. I mean, yeah. So we've got MoFi. I mean, everything that seems to be available. The only thing that would be interesting is when this Hotel California one step drops. I mean, I know, what was their number on that one? Probably 10,000 was being printed or pressed, or maybe more. I wonder, I'm curious if that one will be sold out now, because that was released, the pre-sale was released before the whole DSD debacle. So I'm curious now that everyone knows it's DSD, that it's going to be sold out, because I know it would have been sold out prior, it would have been sold out prior to the DSD news.
The song for me that I'm really interested about on that particular album is Life in the Fast Lane. I have yet to hear a really good LP version that does that song justice, because the intro of that song, has that guitar riff, and then it has like that stumbling in drum cadence that kind of comes in with it. And I've never heard an LP version, whether it's the original recording or original release. None of them seem to get that, like, the tightness of that. The DVD audio of that sounds really good. So I'll be curious to see if the one step of that record makes that song sound and have that impact that song should have.
I've got the Bernie Grunman cut of Hotel California, which I'm quite impressed with. It doesn't sound too compressed. It sounds pretty natural as well. So I have to listen to that again. And that was $25 record you could pick it up for as well. So I mean, it was done quite well.
Just listen to the first 30 seconds of that song and see if it feels like a drum kit is diving into the song, or if it sounds like a little...
I'm going home tonight. I'm going to have to listen to that tonight.
And then Joe Walsh's guitar there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It shouldn't sound like a muffler. Like the whole song should not sound like this, like puttering muffler. It should sound like it has this
muffler, like muffled, like this record.
No. The worst. No. You want to hear muffled? This is the worst muffled record I've ever owned. Right here, muffle, 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 muffle,
You know what
muffle.
this sounds like? This sounds like this. Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what that record sounds
See,
like.
I don't
No
see.
offense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the
I
original.
want you to buy. Okay, if I come,
I like this record too. This is the thing.
you go to record stores. Look in the used bin, and
I'm going to buy one,
and then play them back to back.
Okay, I will.
I think that the cover art of that Joe Cocker album needs to be the new meme for anytime we get a bad sounding record. It is. That face.
I don't like
we
it.
We can put a little bubble on 2 more weeks. Chad Cassim, 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks. This is it right here. So yeah, the original sucks.
Oh, we love you, Chad. We kid. I know Chad likes to watch you.
So other, I mean, 2023. I mean, I haven't bought a lot of stuff that's been released. Like currently, I went back and bought stuff that's been around for a while, and I know this is. I think you can buy this on Discogs. The MoFi version's $300, $400 US. This is the Bob Ludwig. I think this is the 2002 or whatever it was that when it was released or the remastered. Incredible. Mm-hmm. This is a $40, $50 album, double album. Ludwig, incredible.
You know who I think is doing really cool things? It's Kraft. At a good price, I mean, a lot of it is analog, not all of it. 3 things stand out to me. I'll just briefly show. One is this that came out, and this is a great John Lee Hooker record, and this is Burnin'. This just came out in the last 2 months or something. It sounds great. I mean, it's a wonderful classic John Lee Hooker. It's all analog, original man. I can't remember if this is Bernie or Kevin. It's one of those guys. Those guys.
Well, it seems to be one of 3 now. It's Ryan Smith, Kevin Gray, or Bernie Grundman. Those are the three big names.
And that reminded me of something else. But this is my favorite kind. This is my little jazz moment here now. This box set, Eddie Lockjaw Davis and Shirley Scott. I'm a huge fan of Shirley Scott, which is some people who like jazz don't like jazz B3, Hammond B3 organ. I love it. Shirley Scott was one of the queen of it. The only woman really doing it at that time, was married for a while to Stanley Turrentine. This is soul jazz. This is funky. And this has the 4 records that they collaborated on. Beautiful tipped on covers, not Stoughton, matte finish, but it's a great, great, great set.
What does it go for? What does that set go for?
I'm thinking 125, 130-ish, 4 records. Could be a little, depending on one, obviously the obligatory booklet. Really, really good. And I want to show this because I just started playing this, and I will say this up front. Kraft send me this for free. I bought that, but the Kraft has, watching my videos and reached out to me based on some of them. And now I've gotten a few things. So I am my favorite jazz artist of all time is Charlie Parker. I'm a fan of bebop. Now, bebop, the recordings in the 40s, 50s are not audiophile by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of it came out on 10 inches and 78s, and the Kraft. I mean, the stuff from Savoy Records. These are 10 inches, and it has Charlie Parker and Dexter Gordon, Milt Jackson, Stan Getz, and anyway, Fats Navarro, the bebop kings of the time. And I have a bunch of Kraft that I bought over the years, 10 inches. Miles Davis. Prestige stuff on Kraft. I bought Thelonious Monk, and they're fantastic. And these covers look like almost like mini semi-Stoughton cover. They're just beautiful, beautiful, heavy cardstock. And this is a fantastic class. I want to thank them, but I love this stuff. Again, not sonic masterpieces like when people talk about tone poets and the Blue Note stuff of the 50s and 60s, but it doesn't matter. It's the music here. And so I think Kraft, on all the things they're doing, rock and roll, blues, soul, Latin music, is a real sweet spot. And except for those single origin, one press gin, espresso drinks packages they do at 100, whatever, 120 now, I think these are the sweet spots. I have one of the single origin things, and it's nice, but I think the other stuff they do is very reasonable for what they are.
And that's the thing, the sweet spot of getting back to me not buying as much, or maybe Nathan's not buying as much. I mean, I think these are the sweet spot. Here's Chet Baker sings and plays with Bud Shank and Russ Freeman and strings. We know Tone Poet, Kevin Gray from the original master tapes, and Chet Baker's vocals. I have all three of his vocal albums. Incredible. I mean, I think it's underrated. He's coming back to it. I mean, he's sort of the James Dean of the jazz
He's
jazz
so
era.
cool. I know people. Some people don't like him. Some people don't like it.
And this just came. This was just released a week ago. So if you haven't picked it up, again, Mazzy talks about sort of that, price point. What was this? $38? $38? Yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean,
terrible cover art, but that's what the cover art was.
Well, that's just the cover art. That's fine. But yeah, so, and I also have the other one that Kevin Gray did for $25. I think it's the third. I can't remember the name of it. You might have it, Mazzy. Show it if you do.
Yeah, I do.
I think for Record Store Day, their craft is aren't they issuing the self-titled in mono, the Chet Baker?
Yes,
they are.
No, they are Pepper. Oh, the Chet Baker, right. Yeah. I always get confused. Yeah, right. The contemporary or I can't find it now, but that is a sweet spot. Now, the other thing, we're talking about jazz. I'm not a member of Vinyl Me Please. But Vinyl Me Please, since we spoke last, announced that box set of the Miles Davis Electric period. Yeah. And some people either are in that period or they don't like that period. And it's funky and jammy and fusiony and some amazing.
Jack Johnson's one of my favorite albums.
Absolutely. Incredible. On the Corner, obviously Bitches Brew. And Vinyl Me Please is doing supposedly all analog cut. Ryan Smith is cutting them now. Ryan Smith gets the Columbia tapes, but no one else does, or whatever the decision is there. And I have several of those on the MoFi. So I wasn't going to order it. There's only one album I don't have originals of, but I went in and pre-ordered it.
You did,
I did. And so whenever that comes, it's not coming to the end of the year or something. So it's way, way advanced. And I pay more because I'm not a member. I like the concept of VMP, but it still confuses me. You get this, but you trade this and you do this and you get credit for this and you go back and you skip a month. It's just a confusing thing for me, someone at my advanced age. But I like what they do when they do it right and they press it right. And now I think they have their Pearl Jam's the first album coming out at their own plant that Gary from Chad's old Gary is cutting or pressing. That's going to be their first at their new plant. So I'm looking forward to see what they come up with. I think the concept is good. I never thought in this day and age something like the Columbia Record Club would work, and it seems to be working.
So then I had another great sounding album this year, and I had the pleasure of going for lunch. Kirsten Edkins. This is Kevin Gray recorded and mastered on this all-valve system. Great album. What more can I say? I drew some flack for saying this is like the new 2023 kind of blues. So I got a lot of flack for that, but I really appreciate the music and the originality of it, and of course the sound of it as well. I mean, from a sonic perspective, you're not going to hear many negative reviews about this album. I think it was really well done. Kevin is actually I think it's in June. I can't say who it's going to be, but I was invited down for the next recording session of his next album that he's recording as well. So I may or may not take him up on that offer. I mean, obviously family first, but California. So yeah, he's been doing that in June, which would be really exciting. So I got to meet Kirsten. Very, very nice person. As you know, I interviewed her as well. So, had a lovely chat with her, and, very, very humble, and she's now going to be doing her next album and writing for that right now. So I don't know when that will come out. She'll probably start recording that next year, I would think, but she doesn't know. But
does she tour at all, or
no? I have not yet. Anyways, I'm not sure. I think she does. She does a lot of sessions. She does a lot of sessions, and I think she's doing a lot of instruction as well, and doing some training and helping people learn the saxophone as well. So it was really nice to actually meet her in person. It was a really cool experience.
What I think is cool about that record, though, is that it's on the all valve system, but it's really the minimal miking that Kevin utilized for that, and it really does sound like those older jazz records where you don't have this wall of sound with the drums being enormous and these layers of horns and everything else. So to me, it's like the record that like kind of teaches you, especially if you don't listen to a lot of older music, it teaches like newer listeners like how to actually listen to music in a way that sounds like you would if you were sitting in a club, like a small venue, listening to the music and really appreciating like the placement of the instruments and hearing the band kind of playing off of each other. So and I think Kevin talks about the in the insert.
You can see really how it was recorded with those microphones, right? I mean, it really went back to the Rudy Van Gelder type of style. And it's really you listen to it. I mean, you listen to the saxophone, it's pan left in the speaker, and you'll hear the the drums on the right. So I mean, it's definitely got that Rudy feel from the 1950s. I know, Norman, you'd agree with that as well. Do you have this album, Norman?
I do.
Mazzy?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm not sure the limit. I think I don't know how many are being pressed or what's going on with it, but I know it's one of those ones that if you don't have it, pre-order it, see what happens, because I don't think it's going to be this one that's going to have a 10,000 run or a 5,000
No, it
run.
won't. So it's still available. You can get it at various retailers.
Yeah, definitely pick it up. I mean, again, price point that I'm talking. I mean, these are the price point as we move forward as consumers. We're not worried about, oh my God, I'm missing out. FOMO. I think now we can sort of sit back and breathe and know, okay. Other than like, I was looking, I mean, I love this album. I don't know if I need to buy the MoFi for $400 US when I can get the Robert Ludwig.
I wouldn't pay that for. I have the MoFi. It's great. It's great. But I got it when it came out.
But here's the thing. Okay, so depending on your system, how many people could really tell the difference between a Robert Ludwig remastered and the MoFi? Honestly.
Well, okay, that's going to go. If we're going to go in that discussion.
But I don't know. I don't only have the Robert Ludwig. I'm very happy with it. And how much different is the MoFi to make it worth $400 relative to $35? Well,
can you say that about any one step and any UHQR then?
I think it depends on system, and it depends on system. Right. I think that's what it boils down to. If you've got if you've got a higher end system, yes, I think there's going to be small differences that you're going to hear. But if you've got just a, like a $400 record player and an all-right amp, and I don't think there's going to be that much. You're not going to be oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever heard. But I mean, I'm fortunate enough, as you can see behind me. I mean, where I'm at right now, we've got incredible stuff. At home, I've got incredible stuff as well. So I mean, I definitely can hear the difference when I'm listening to one steps and UHQRs on the different systems that are in the shop here. There's definitely differences. And if you've got, maybe not as expensive equipment, then I don't think there's going to be that much of a difference. I mean, really, but I don't know. I mean, from a collectible point of view, obviously some of this stuff's going to be, I think going up in value over time.
There's certain records though too, like Beck Sea Change. I've never heard a bad version of that in any format. I have the Blu-ray audio, I have the SACD, I have the HD CD, I have the LP. Like, it sounds fantastic in all formats.
I think you're overbacked.
Produced by Nigel Goodrich, if anyone wanted to know. So I mean, it was well done.
He works on all that Radiohead. Oh no, he did he did Radiohead stuff. Yeah.
Oh, he's Radiohead? Okay, yeah.
But it's like Donald Fagen's Nightfly. Like, I've not heard a bad version of that record on any format either. I mean, they have their variances, but even the quote unquote poorest one still sounds amazing compared to a lot of other stuff that's out there. To me, the biggest gap between an original and a one step is still the Blood, Sweat and Tears self-titled. I think that one has the largest gap between what they did with the one step versus an original pressing of that album. I think the original pressing of that album sounds atrocious. I don't think it sounds very good at all.
So hang on. So then
that's the only one step I own.
So then it's this, Nathan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it looks like a poster in a porno.
Every time, guys, that we hear a bad, this is a bad record. That sounds bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
Oh God.
But, I mean, the horns just leap off of that one step. I mean, it is so good. So I mean, that to me is the biggest leap from original versus, you know, what they did with that one.
So what are you guys looking to buy in the next little while? You have your eyes on anything in particular, or you just sort of just seeing what else is out there? I know, I mean, I'm not going to get the Miles Davis. For me, it's a different being Canadian because of the duties, the taxes, the exchange. Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about Record Store Day then.
I'm just going to show these two because I already did a conversation 2 weeks ago with Zev Feldman.
Yeah, I saw that. It was good.
And they were kind enough to send me a bunch of records, and I got 5 records on the various labels that he collaborates with, and only one I didn't like very much, and that's the Shirley Scott one I had an issue with, and I said it on my video.
And you like Shirley Scott too, so
that's I love Shirley Scott.
Yeah, of course.
I think the Harold Vick, I think it's Harold Vick who's the sax player on that, is the way the mix is, the way it was recorded in this venue was way up and she's way back, and it's her. Anyway, I won't get into details, but you know, every time there's a Bill Evans record, there's been some great ones and some not so great ones. This is a 3 LP set. I love it. This is mid 60s, late 60s in Denmark, and it's amazing. And there's solo, trio, and with an orchestra, and the orchestra stuff is amazing. There's this overture, kind of reminds me of the overtures of the old movie road shows of like My Fair Lady and Lawrence Arabia that started a movie, and it goes to do a version of the which is Debbie's song. I wouldn't say Dance with Debbie.
Waltz.
And it goes into him. It's really well recorded. And so this, I mean, again, I got these, but I would buy this one. And I like.
Is that stereo? Is that in stereo? Mazzy?
You know, actually, I don't think it is, but I don't remember now. It doesn't say stereo or mono. I don't remember, and I should know because it's an audiophile channel. I'm sorry.
It should say it on the label of the record. I would hope. I'm curious now.
It should, but it does not. Solo trio orchestra recordings from Denmark, 65 to 69. Usually when it doesn't say, it tends to be mono, right?
Okay, really?
But I don't know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know of Walter Bishop Jr., great piano player. He did some stuff. I got into him a little bit in the 70s with his soul jazz music on Black Jazz, and this is mid 60s. This is Harold Vick. I'm sorry, Harold Vick's not on the other record. The good record, and great soloing, great piano playing. But there's other ones too, but those are the ones. And in terms of, for me, for records, there's only 2 things I really want. I'm a Grateful Dead fan, so there's another Grateful Dead box, of course, du jour. And there's a 5 LP, I think, Nuggets revisions. I like garage rock, and Lenny Kaye did the original Nuggets, took everything and basically started over. Didn't just do what they did on the expanded CD, and that's a box. I think it's like $120 of 5 LPs. So I'm not going in all in on anything else. Those are the things that I'm going to probably get.
I think
Isn't
for
there
me,
a John Lennon singles set that's coming out?
yes, there is.
Well, it's a John. You know, if I get one, I'm a big Beatle fan, obviously, as you know. And it's sort of it's a re-version of that "Give Me Some Truth" thing they made, but it's all white labels, very pushed back, very Yoko design type, 10 inches, $375, and
Wow.
and they're making 1,500 copies worldwide.
Wait, so that box set is $375, right?
I don't know how many 10 inch, is it 8 or 10? I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and there's only 15. You know, my record store here, if I get in line, you fill out a thing and they pull it for you. I'm gonna check it off. I'm not a flipper, but I'll get it. And if I decide later to sell it, but I usually collect everything Beatles. I have millions of versions of those songs.
You sold your Maca for a good amount of money, that one limited one.
Yeah. And I don't think that was like oddity. Well, there are only 333 of that Third Man record I bought for $60 because I woke up. 333 copies made on recycled vinyl.
It's $2,000. Was it 2,000? How much did it go for?
2,600.
Yeah, I know.
I waited I thought, if people want to pay this, out of here.
Yeah.
But 1,500 copies, I mean, that seems kind of small for anything
For
Beatles
Lennon,
related.
Beatles,
Yeah.
worldwide, absolutely. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I don't need it. And if I don't get it, I'm not gonna be disappointed. So
Yeah, those 10 inches are kind of
let me show this when we have it, just because
The Kinks, yes.
well, Kevin Gray cut this. That's why I'm going to bring it up. So, because he did the Kinks mono box. Now, let me say this up front: Kinks records are not sonic masterpieces.
They're not recorded well.
Shel Talmy, who produced the early stuff, not a great sounding. Then Ray Davis took his off, and it is Davis. We have the whole thing of Davies. I don't want to repeat that again. That's how he pronounced Davis, even though it's spelled Davies. But there's a million, too many Kinks comps, but this is their 60th year anniversary. There's 2 volumes, volume 1 and 2. Volume 2 is not out yet. And what's unique about this compared to others, it's I think only one other time, all the Kinks curated this. It wasn't some label slapping it together. And they did it thematically. And there's a couple of some deep cuts as well as some hits. And for what it is, of course, it progressively gets better sounding as the recordings go on in decades. And sure enough, Kevin Gray cut, nice package. And there you go. There's going to be 2 this year. Again, Kinks are one of my top 3 favorite bands. So I'm all in on the Kinks. So I'll just shout that out. I'm curious to talk about, Kevin. He's probably a fan of the band, but it's not sonic masterpieces, but what he had to do. So I know that curator, I don't know if you know who Andrew Sandoval is. He would be someone to talk to, because for years did Rhino Records and all the box sets of CD era. Is the Big Monkeys expert, all the reissues, but the Kinks reissues, all that kind of 60s and sunshine pop he's done. And he's amazing.
Is there a date for the second part of that you know of?
No, it's this year, but I don't have a date. BMG put this out. And someone in the vinyl community, Arnaldo, who works at BMG in finance, he watches me, and he sent me this and a few other releases.
Well, he's been on our roundtable, Arnaldo. So
oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Of course he has. Yeah, Arnaldo. Yeah, but he works for BMG, and he sent me this, and I did shout him out when I did 3-part video this week of the RCA theatrical years, the stadium arena years of Arista, and then the comp stuff. Too much Kinks, but God save the Kinks. And as I said in that last video, Clive Davis actually saved the Kinks when he signed them to Arista.
And you guys probably did see the announcement from Analogue Productions that they're repressing the Beach Boys. They're doing like another run of those too. So I know we didn't kind of talk about that during the news segment, but
their final run, right?
Final run, yeah, and then that's it. So
I say if you have some, I think I have 7 of them. The one to get is Surf's Up in stereo. Mono's good too, but Surf's Up, and in my room, oh my God, it might be the best thing I've played on my stereo ever here. That version of that.
Yep.
Highly recommended.
And who is it? Was it Bernie Gremman that cut those ones for AP?
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
They came out with 2011, I think, or 12 or something.
2012.
Yeah.
Was Doug Sax still
I don't
alive?
think he did. I don't think he did. They sound really, really good. And the one, I guess Pet Sound's the one that's from a dub of the stereo or the mono Pet Sound or something.
I'm probably one of the only people. I'm not a huge Pet Sounds. It's an okay album. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I don't go overkill on it like some things, but I think it's an important record. But
of course.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been, I hate to say it like this because it's the artist knows better, but if they put the single on it, Good Vibrations, that would have made it the perfect album, probably. To me. It's kind of like Sgt. Pepper. They should put Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields. I don't think so, but I get why people say it, because that was the first 2 songs that they recorded for what was going to be Sgt. Pepper.
We're gonna get so much hate mail dishing on the Pet Sounds.
That's okay.
Well, you're mentioning off record, and I don't know if you want to bring him up or not, but Steve Hoffman, because he says the best Pet Sounds you can get in mono is the one that's in the 70s twofer that Capitol put out or Warner Brothers put out, Carl and the Passions. It had Carl and the Passions on one record, and it had a mono cut of Pet Sounds, And that has gone up in price because everyone now knows that's the one to get, not those cheap ass Capitol reissues. Get that Carl and the Passions one if you want the best pet sounds.
Well, Steve Hoffman and I have been chatting back and forth. I wanted him to come on the roundtable or come on to chat, but he's declined, unfortunately. But I did ask him. I said, "So, what's your favorite, your own favorite best sounding mastered Steve Hoffman cut?" And he goes, "Well, I got over 1,000, so I couldn't tell you which one it would actually be, unfortunately." I said, "Okay, then tell me what your best sounding album is of all time." He goes, "Well, maybe not best sounding, but my favorite album is Cream's." Wheels of Fire, I believe. Is that? Yeah, Wheels of Fire is what he said, which is a double LP. One's recorded in studio, and I think the other one's live recording as well. Thank you, Winterland.
Metallic cover. It was great when it first.
Ginger Baker probably wrote a bunch of the songs. I think Clapton picked 2 blues hits as well that went on there. So Clapton doesn't have any songs that he wrote on that album, I do believe.
Not Ginger Baker. Ginger Baker wrote only Toad.
Oh, he did?
Toad.
Okay.
It was Jack Bruce who wrote all the...
Right, Jack Bruce. Exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
And it's not... It's interesting you told me that before because it's not... The Cream records are not well recorded.
Not at all.
But it's the music, right?
Yeah. So now, it's an album that I don't have. So it's now that Steve Hoffman told me that's his favorite, and even said, "Look, it's not the best sounding album. It's probably more like this."
So I was just going to run downstairs and grab it to show you, but I
So I mean, if anyone's interested in Wheels of Fire, I mean, it's a double LP. You can probably pick it up for cheap too. I bet you.
It's the album White Room came on.
Ah, okay.
On the studio.
But don't you guys think though, like when it comes to like those rock records of like that era, there's like this like fine balance between making it sound like what rock music should sound like, which is that raw, edgy, unpolished sort of, Led Zeppelin, muddy sort of feel to it. And then there's like between that and like something that you would want to listen to over and over again and have some level of polish to it that, puts it into a master, well-mastered format.
Well, the listeners at the time had different kinds of, we all had different kinds of stereos, pull down stereos. It wasn't for what we have now. Tom Dowd and the guys at Atlantic weren't great. Their records didn't sound great for that. They did all the great, Aretha and Memphis stuff. But even they didn't know, we talked about in one of these issues or one of these programs about RCA, MoFi, how Touristic Pillow sounds great on MoFi, and RCA didn't know how to record rock bands in 1967. They were too loud. This almost like the union technicians, like it didn't know how to record. If your dial went into red, it'd calm you down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one of the themes I'm hearing today from all of us just for this roundtable talk is that, I mean, there's a lot of great mastered albums or reissues, but I think the bottom line is it has to be produced and engineered like incredible in order for it to sound sonically incredible as well. Mazzy, you've mentioned the Kinks today don't sound so well. We know it wasn't produced very well. I mean, this might have not have been produced well. I don't know. I'm really bitter right now. I love this album, but again, I got to do something about it. If anyone has an original, I'm obsessed. It sounds so bad. Out of all my records, this is the worst one I've ever
Denny
had.
Cordello produced that's a pretty decent. He produced Procol Harum and
I mean Steve Winwood's on this, right? And keyboards. So I don't know. I haven't. Anyways, I'll get over it at some point. Maybe I'll find a reissue that sounds better.
Maybe Speaker's Corner. That would be a title that they, something like Speaker's Corner could do.
Yeah, I definitely think this would be an interesting one for a audiophile pressing. I really do.
Well, okay. Who you'd reach out to is the guy who could do that. Maybe if the tapes are good, it's Intervention because he has a connection with A&M Records. How many A&M Records has he done? Tracy Chapman. So many A&M Records he's done. He's the A&M connection, and he's
there you go.
So go after what's his name? I'm sorry, Intervention. He lives down in Gig Harbor, like 45 minutes from me.
We're neighbors. There you go.
Yeah. You should get him on this. Seriously.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, I'll contact him, see if he would come on. But yeah, that would be cool.
He's doing the Peter Frampton box. That's what we didn't mention.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Frampton's going to be touring again. I read the other day as well. 3
of the 4 studio albums prior to Frampton Comes Alive. The first one, his first solo album, Wind to Change, because after Humble Pie, he was in Humble Pie. The Wind to Change is a fantastic album and a great sounding record. Now, I did not pre-order that, but my guess is those 3 records will sound really good. Again, A&M, so you should do Joe Cocker maybe.
I'd love to. So record store days tomorrow or Saturday, depending on when that we post this video. It's not that big of a deal here in Vancouver anyway, so I won't stand in line, nor do they have any inventory. So, the John Lennon that you're talking about, they won't have it here. So there's no point in me even going to the record store at, 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. to line up for it. Anything that you guys are interested in that you're going to be getting or lining up for, like, at all?
I just mentioned the Nuggets.
Just those two?
And
yeah.
I mean, every once in a while, I like the idea of a list because I don't get tempted seeing the cover and have it in my hand and thinking, fall. If I put it back, it's gone. I'm past that.
There you go.
Nathan?
So yeah, Nathan?
No, I don't. I actually get turned off whenever I go out on that day. I feel like it's like this, mad dash where everybody's fighting for 3 copies of whatever it is, and then I'm like, so I'll wait till the madness clears out, and then if there's anything left, I'll look through it. The only thing that really interests me would be the Chet Baker, the mono pressing from Kraft. So that's the only one that if I could get a copy, I would like.
I might wait and see what it goes for on the aftermarket and buck up a little bit. Maybe that might be all right.
They're doing a lot of them. The place, I hate to promote or send it, but In Groove usually, all these record stores that sell online the next day, Sunday, and he orders a ton of stuff. So that's like the first place I usually go. Aside from my locals.
Do you guys agree, like somebody like Kraft, do you guys agree that if they were to package a mono and a stereo version of records that it would be applicable for, that you'd be willing to pay a little bit more to have both versions versus 2 separate releases?
Depending on the record. Didn't Atlantic do that with the Coltrane? With one of the, they did it, right? I have it. I forgot which record it was now.
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah, I mean, it depends. Maybe.
Yeah. I just like having both options. I mean, there's some that sound both, and it's just a different flavor to me.
Yeah.
To get both versions. But I'm just thinking from a packaging standpoint, it would be cheaper on their end to have one
gatefold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just something I was curious if anyone else, kind of feels the same way I do. They did on My Favorite Things, which
that's the one, yeah.
Which I know Steve loves too. So
I love it.
Yeah, but I just like having both versions because I think both offer. I made a comparison. It's like a photo in portrait or landscape, right? Which version is better? Well, I think a portrait and a landscape photo both have their merits, and it depends on the material and source of what you're taking a photo of. It's not necessarily to say one is always better than the other.
It's a preference, yeah. I mean, I'm a big stereo. It's funny because there's the last 2 years again, everyone's jump on the mono, and of course they say, oh, Sgt. Pepper, it's the mono the way the Beatles intended. They spent days mixing it, and they spent like 6 minutes, and the Beatles weren't even there to do the stereo. What I mean,
8 hours or something stupid.
Yeah, but once you do one, it's going to be faster to do the other one somewhat. But I actually, the day it came out, I bought the stereo, and to me, psychedelia for me, and some people will question if that's a psychedelic album. I think it is, but I like in stereo. I like things swirling. I like left-right panning. I love that. And the mono is a different beast. When I first heard years later an original UK mono, I was blown away. It's more of a rock and roll record. It was like a different record. I mean, same songs, but I still love that loosey goosey stereo thing on that record.
Or even just the isolation, like Bill Evans' Portrait and Jazz. You have the bass in the left channel, you have drums in the right channel, and then you have the piano spread across right in the middle. And when you're listening to that, it sounds exactly like how you would imagine it would if you were in the room as those guys are playing those pieces.
And that's how this is recorded as well. Exactly.
The
same type of stuff.
Yep.
You know, there's
Yep.
there's that chat. What's it? Analog Productions of the first Nina Simone record. You know, when she's sitting outside. That's a great album, but they put the stereo one out, and a lot of people were, you know, it's so wide and so separate, and some people had wished, I think, they would put the mono one. Now, I don't mind it, but I keep thinking, if I'm sitting here, if she's on the left of the stage and I'm on the right, I'm going to hear it different anyway. Of course, depending how you have mic'd, but most clubs you don't have that perfectly set up thing. So you're going to hear more sax or more piano or more whatever. That's
Right.
how I hear it. I know people in their house don't like that. They want a little more narrower sound stage, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's leave it at that. I mean, Record Store Day is Saturday. Good luck on our viewers that are going. And with a little help from my friends, maybe this will be an audiophile question one day.
100%.
Have a good one, gentlemen. Thanks for joining.
All right.
Thank you. Nice
See you
seeing you
next
guys.
time.
Bye-bye.